Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. And I'm kind of chuckling to myself because, Bahram, you are number one. Oh, and Shannon, you are number two. Frankie, Bahram beat you again. You're number three. And welcome, AWJ. Not always, Bahram, not always. And I am well. All right, we are going to get started. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so today we are going to talk about cell phones in the classroom, and should they be in the classroom? Should they not be in the classroom? What do you guys think? So, yes or no? Should cell phones be allowed in the classroom as long as students are not making calls or playing games? Have they proved to be beneficial in outing bad teachers or teachers who are out of line? Are cell phones beneficial for outing bullies? So, growing up, we did not have cell phones, or at least not when I was growing up. Cell phones weren't even invented yet. But, more and more we are seeing and, hearing, and we see these posts where students are posting, videos of teachers who are not so nice, or children in the classroom who are they're being bullied, or they are bullying someone else. Cell phones in the classroom have caught a lot of things that people otherwise would not know. So on the one hand, I say yes, cell phones should be in the classroom, but on the other hand, I say no, because at the same time, you have students who are, they're texting, they're playing games, they're receiving phone calls, and it's disruptive to the teacher and it's disruptive to the class. So where do you stand? Is it something that should be allowed, or should it not? And having said that, I'm going to open it up. So if you guys would like to come on, you may. If not, it's okay to just listen. Okay, Shannon, no problem. Whenever you want to jump in, you can. And Frankie, as always, I will pay attention to your chat. Welcome, Bahram.
Hi, I hope you're well today.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. The topic for me is plain and simple, unless I'm maybe proved otherwise as the show goes on. But for me, there's no reason why any pupil should have a phone in the classroom. Yes, I agree they should have one on them for contact with their family and things. They are very handy devices to have nowadays. But not only would you be affecting your own education, but you would also be having an impact on your fellow classmates, because if you're being disruptive and playing video games or taking calls or texting, and the teacher has to shout at you or reprimand you in any way, that's taking time away from their education. So I've got a fairly hard stance on that one. It's actually the first time that I've thought about that one. We don't actually see much stories like that here in the UK. So it's maybe the first time that I've thought about it, but for me, it's pretty plain sailing. I'm all for banning them in the classroom.
Okay, all right. Welcome, Mr. T. Okay, now, Bob, this is going to be directed at you, since you're the only one that's on mic right now, but anyone in the chat. I'm referring to Shannon's comment where she says they should not be allowed. They use them to cheat. And I think that that is true. I mean, I don't think all students would, but I'm pretty sure some of them probably have. But let's talk about, again, where teachers have been outed. Before cell phones came into the classroom, um, if a teacher did something wrong, you would go to the principal, go home and tell your parents, whatever. And then, sometimes it would be a he said, she said, whatever. Even if other students, back you up. A lot of times the teacher, just got a little slap on the wrist and that was it. But now you have, and you're seeing it more and more here in the US, where more and more you have students who are taking video of teachers that are just downright nasty. You see these parents who are sending cameras in with their kids, especially if they're in special ed classes where children are disabled, or where you have some classes where some children are not able to speak, and teachers that are literally hitting them, saying just awful things to them. And this footage is there. So what do you say about that, Bob? What do you say about that for people who, um, are outing teachers?
Well, that's definitely a first for me. I've never actually heard it that way around. Usually, when you do see the odd classroom video, it's usually of a pupil maybe slapping or punching a teacher, or it's always the pupil that's the bad one. But if that's happening, then yeah, it's something needs to be done about it. But maybe just I'm still not on board with like the recording of teachers. I think it should be enough for for a pupil to go home to their parents and say what's happening, and hopefully some of the other fellow pupils would corroborate the story and say back them up. I don't think it needs to be that you have to go in and secretly film what's going on to get justice. But if that is the case, then it's a sad situation.
But if you have to go through the trouble of secretly recording someone, I mean, if it's gotten to that point where that student feels that it's gotten that bad in the classroom that they have to record this in order to show their parents or show the school board or principal, whomever, that this is what's going on, don't you think that that's a problem? Meaning that it did get to that point, and that teacher does need to be recorded. And on the same and on the flip side, not just the teacher, but if there is a disruptive student that constantly, disruptive to the teacher, being disrespectful, hitting the teacher, whatever, this needs to be recorded.
Yeah. You know this, I'm sitting thinking, and something struck a chord with me there that I actually have seen, maybe not what we were discussing, but I've seen pupils secretly recording what teachers are teaching in class. And I know there's a few like subjects that is now being taught in school that are very what's the word? A lot of people's got views on it. Very, what's the word? Like it's getting a lot of publicity. There was one where they were teaching pedophilia as a sexual orientation in some Californian university, or the whole drag queen teaching children. So we have seen those footages that have been recorded by pupils, but I think I was thinking more along the lines of abuse, or poor teaching, or something like that. But again, I wouldn't like to think that was the last resort. Like, hopefully pupils are being heard, whether it be by the school board or their own parents. And probably if we get further into the show, my message, especially in the last few years, has been to homeschool your kids if you can. I know that's quite hard, but especially now, my views on the COVID, the masks, forcing our children to wear masks. I say it quite a lot on my show and on social media. If I had a kid that was told that they had to be wearing a mask or in one of these incubators type things in their class, I would certainly be pulling my kid out of that school and trying to find another school that didn't have those protocols, or homeschooling if need be. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I homeschooled my son from, or my husband and I, we homeschooled our son from 5th grade through 12th grade. Not because of mask or anything, but after going to 2 private schools and seeing the condition of public schools, he did much, much better being homeschooled. So I am 100%. If you're able to homeschool your child, you should. So, welcome, Chill. You have been waiting patiently, my friend. What would you like to say? You have the mic. You there, Chill? Okay. Maybe he got a phone call. Not sure. Okay, so I am going to keep going. If Jill comes back on, he is more than welcome to have the mic. All right, so but this is going to take me to another thing. Okay, we're talking about cell phones in the classroom. All right, and you brought up a very good point with some students may start or are recording what the teachers are teaching. And considering now you have people who are complaining about what is called, and I hate this word, critical race theory, or books that they don't want kids to read, even though these books have some of these books have been in the classrooms for years. All of a sudden, it's an issue, whatever. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about where some parents may send their kids to school now with a cell phone to record the teacher to make sure that the teacher is not teaching anything that the parent, finds offensive?
I mean, I don't think it shouldn't get to that. Like the teachers have every right to go to school and go to these parent meetings to find out what's on the curriculum, and they should know what their their child is going into to learn for that year. And I believe that up to a certain age, they have every right to pull them out if they don't feel that is something they want their kids to be taught. I don't know what age I would say that the child would then take over. That's probably up for debate. But as far as certain topics, I think each one would have to be discussed individually. The ones that spring to mind is the sex education, the critical race. I'm probably going to get laughed at here, but I actually don't know what critical race theory is. I know it's been a hot topic in the last month or so, because it's even more. I think it's the last 2 or 3 months. It was kind of brought up that they were going to start teaching it in schools in America or something. But again, it's up to the parents if you want to pull them out and homeschool. It obviously is more beneficial because, as I said on last night's show, I think public school education is nothing short of a shit show. I think that they teach us, they basically turn us into factory workers, just standing in a line and being like zombies. That's all they want us to do. Basic skills. So yeah.
Okay. Well, critical race theory, and again, I hate that word, or I shouldn't say hate. I just dislike that term. Basically, what it is going back and teaching what some people consider the real history of America, which is you're going to go back, and if you talk about slavery, you're just not going to talk about, a little bit on Harriet Tubman, a little bit on Frederick Douglass. You're going to talk about, America and its full history. If you're going to, talk about George Washington, they're saying talk about the fact that George Washington had slaves. You're going to talk about Andrew Jackson, or Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, he was a president, but talk about the fact that he had slaves, and that he raped a 9-year-old girl and had 9 children, by her, over the years. If you're, talk about the Native Americans and what were done to them, the violence and everything that was done to them. So critical race theory is just saying that let's talk about the real history of America, which includes the good things and the bad. Unfortunately, it rubs some people the wrong way, and I can understand that. Um, uh, but again, if you send your child to the classroom with a cell phone to tape a teacher, then shouldn't the cell phone also be allowed in the classroom to tape everybody else, to tape other students, to tape everybody? I mean, you know, again, I ask, are cell phones beneficial in a classroom when it comes to outing bad teachers or outing bad students?
No, again, that the way you put it there at the end, it kind of sums up for me. It sounds all too much like Big Brother, like 1984, the book. It's like surveillance everywhere. I'm not a fan of that at all. I'll say it again. I think if it's going to have to, it shouldn't get to that stage. And if it does, there's a problem that's way past taping. If the pupil goes home and tells the parents that something's going on, and the parents are maybe ignoring, then they can go to the board, the school board, and surely there's other avenues than having constant surveillance in a school classroom. I'm not a fan of that.
Okay. All right. Jill, are you back? I see your mic blinking. Are you there, Jill? He dropped off. Maybe he'll have to come back in. Okay. Hold on. He's back.
Yeah, my bad. I had a phone call. Where you get that?
Okay. You are here. You have the mic, sir. What would you like to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I I had a phone call, so some of the stuff I didn't hear. What up, everybody? Though, what up, Byron? What up, Solid Blue? Um, I mainly heard a lot about the recording in the classroom, though, so that's always a red flag for me. You know what I'm saying? If I was a teacher, I'd probably collect cell phones at the door. Um, I would want that to happen in my classroom. No matter what. I mean, just me personally. In some cases, you may need to be recorded, right? You may want to catch something on tape or something like that. And that's the case, but it does definitely pigeonholes, I feel, like a teacher. It can, depending on what setting you in, because certain things I might need to teach, especially like in the hood, like some ways I have to talk and teach. I can't be vanilla, or I just can't do the job. I might have to talk to these little kids are monsters, so I might have to come out, and just to defend myself or defend someone else. And if it's getting, how they clip things on the internet, they take a clip of something, me saying something, or in a certain way or manner, and they take it out of context, run it on the internet, or just clip it up, run it on the internet. Now you public enemy number one of how you handle a situation, which might have been appropriately. Technically, hopefully, you have anybody there that's doing wrong, but a teacher's already a hard job. You know what I'm saying? To get people who care to just doing the right thing, man, that would be a huge deterrent. If I was an educator, like, I wouldn't want to be in those type of settings. And I'm not inappropriate at all, by any means, but when you're recording, or when you're in danger or something like that, that's kind of rough. But there's people you're always gonna have people who abuse something, right? So it's always the other hand is always gonna be there, whether you get a record or not. That's gonna happen. But that's just rough. That would be just rough. That's something that really is on a school to vet. If I hear that happen, hopefully I can get it before it records. But I would, me personally, I would do like comedians do. I would collect phones at the door just before I know you paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Just put, and not to say they would always do that. They can always have an extra, tablet or something in their book bag that I don't know about. So that's always the case. But typically, it would be hard to teach in those settings, though, especially in the hood. Like, I just thinking about my school, some of my teachers loved me and they cared. Sometimes they had to buck up and they might have to whoop a little student's ass because they were just endangering another student, or they were endangering them. And so that fight could have been recorded between the teacher and the student, but at the end of the day, the student could have, put that teacher in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Or just it's a dynamic. Sometimes you got to live outside the school as well. You got to go to the parking lot. You got to go to your house. And these kids, man, they had no respect. Sometimes they gang banging, and it was a lot of. It's not just a regular job having being a teacher at my school. So some of that stuff on tape would have been crazy, and they weren't necessarily in the wrong, but they weren't in the right as well. Morally, they were right, but just technically they were wrong. So, yeah, that'll
Okay.
be that. That's
All right. I want to read some of the comments. Doomsday says the problem with cell phones in the classroom is distraction from learning. However, having video evidence of misconduct is also a good thing. Shannon says it's a kind of a catch-22. Damn if you have cell phones in the classroom, damn if you don't. So, you know, there are monsters in every school. I mean, there are kids, I don't care if you're in the hood, I don't care if you're in Beverly Hills, there are monsters in every school. Um, uh, the disrespect and what have you, it is there across the board. But what about if you collect the cell phones at the door? What about classrooms now? And it's not just in the hood or in certain areas, whatever. It's in most schools now where there are cameras that are in the in each class. So what do you say about that? You have cameras, and a lot of it could be because they're taking the extra steps to, if there's a shooter or something, and a lot of the shootings, when you look at a lot of the shootings, they're not happening in the hood. That they aren't. So so when you look at cameras that are in each classroom now, is that the same as your kid bringing a cell phone? Things are still being recorded. So I'll go to Bahram. What do you think about that?
No, I don't like that at all. I think it's just it sounds just, and I'm really not going to do a good job at explaining myself here without it's just 1984 George Orwell surveillance. If anyone's read that book, you'll know what I mean. And I can't put my finger on it why it doesn't sit well with me. It's almost like, as well, I think, thought crime, or that they're almost that. I don't know. I'm kind of lost for words, but I don't like the thought of being viewed 24/7. And I know this is just welling in school, but it's like one step leads to the next step. Before long, this isn't really conspiracy theory again. I don't want to bring that up after last night's show, but the 5G system that we now have, we've got these 5G cell towers all around the world now, and that's what they are designed to do. It's like if you look at what China, how they have the 5G surveillance all around, and these cameras can detect your temperature. People are walking down the street, shopping in the shopping malls, and these cameras can. They almost make you look like you're a heat wave, your red and the yellows, instead of like looking like a human, and they can detect your temperature and all that stuff. And that's what that sounds like to me. And I know maybe, some people could argue, Baram, it's just in a school and it's just to prevent any, pupil, teacher, hatred, any fighting or anything like that. But I just don't like how it sounds, and I nothing's going to change my mind on that. So maybe I'll just pass the mic to Chill Will.
Okay. All right. You do make some good points, and I remember when 1984 came out, I had to read it actually in sixth grade. I read that book in sixth grade as a reading assignment, and I had to read it again, I do believe, when I was a sophomore in high school. And George Orwell, he pointed out a lot of things, but we're already, there are cameras everywhere. It still amazes me when you have these porch pirates who steal people's packages. It's like everybody has a Ring camera, or most people do. You go to the store, you're outside the store, you're driving down the street, when you stop at a stoplight, there are cameras everywhere. So is cameras in the classroom, is that any more of a big deal than us driving around now, and you can't go anywhere without cameras? There's cameras everywhere, wherever you go. And there could, for all we know, there are cameras when you go to use the restroom. I mean, you don't know. So
yeah, could I come back in there? I think something's just jogged, like what Jester said there about the moment that a crime is committed against your child, you that can be solved by surveillance. You'll be happy it was there. And it's kind of made me think, like, there would be an argument there for combat, like I think rule number one is when when the police come to your door, or when you have an altercation with the police, my advice is take out your phone straight away and record that situation for your own protection. When you make phone calls to companies, you often hear at the start, we're recording this phone call for training purposes, but it's not training purposes. It's if there's any comeback from any disputes, they can use that against you.
right.
So I always say, like you take out your phone, record the altercation for protection. So there could be an argument there that I could get into. I would obviously need more research on why this doesn't sit well with me. I know I can't, throw up facts and things that I believe why it's wrong. It just doesn't sit well with me. But there is an argument there for that. The only thing that I would say in my defense, in my view, is surely like vetting teachers in other preventative care first would be a better way than installing surveillance cameras in schools. I think there's so many more steps you could take before it needs to get to the point where we need surveillance in schools.
Okay. Chill, you want to comment?
There was two things that someone said. Initially, though, I know the cameras in the classroom you mentioned was the first question. Barroom, he spoke about why it feels not right. Okay, so those are two things. So let me forget. All right, so I'm gonna address Byron first because I think he has a point. Personal freedoms, it's a line. Where's the line? It's always where's the line, right? We're in public, we're recording everything. We got phones. We got somebody when we're in public, we're recording everything. When we're in our houses, depending on if we're apartments, depending on certain areas, we can record everything. And you can be in my home personally with the phone, without my permission, recording something. And so, it's going to be a point to where he's a pedophile. We need to put a camera in his home. You know what I'm saying? He's a thief. We need to put a camera in his home. Or he got a leg surveillance, or house arrest. We need to put a camera in his home. And so at that point, it's like, okay, well, we're getting used to it. It's each generation is getting used to these progressions. I never read the book, but I just in my brain, I've always said this. each generation is getting used to these certain progressions until they all like everybody's in every place at every time because of this, and the third, and thus is taking away your freedom to some degree. You know what I mean? And you have the right to do nothing, and we're always going to be on guard. We can't be ourselves, and that is a danger to a lot of folks. And I understand why. And it's not. I mean, you obviously have the bad things, and that's how typically. If you want to be conspiracy theorists, elitists, that's how the truth or some type of truth to get what you need to for the bigger benefit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm in your home now. I can take advantage of that any way I can. I'm gonna use this truth or this tragedy to get what I want. I.e., a lot of things in life. And so that's I think kind of the realm I think he's trying to say, which I can kind of agree with to some degree. But as far as cameras in the classroom, if you want to have them in the classroom, like I said, I can collect phones at the door, but a camera in the classroom is much different because I can't turn around and post that on Instagram the next second. I can't splice that up. If I got surveillance camera in the classroom, I have to literally legitimately go to that office. Hopefully, they got a whole system where you got to download and get that tape. The police they can review it without prejudice, and then they can make it appropriate. And I think schools have cameras anyway. I mean, that's always been to some degree, maybe not in the classrooms, but certain areas of the school and outside the school. So that's normal. That wouldn't be might be the way we can address that. But yeah, we're talking about I'm thinking about cell phones of cameras on those. That's when it kind of gets kind of iffy. Because you just can't go to Facebook with a school surveillance.
Okay. All right. Now, Dooms made a comment earlier where he said, when I was in high school, we had payphones, but they were locked in a cage and students were not allowed to access them. When I was in high school, we also had payphones. I don't even think people even know what payphones are anymore, they weren't locked up, but we had to, we wanted to go use the phone unless it was during lunch or something. We had to get permission to use the phone, whatever. If you were calling your parents or something, usually you just went to the office and you used the office phone. So now I'm going to, I want to take the cell phones out of the classroom and I want to put them in the street. Okay. So something happens, everybody's pulling out their cell phone. If you get stopped for a traffic ticket, everybody's pulling out their cell phone. If you're in Walmart and somebody gets into an argument, everybody's pulling out their cell phone. So so we're taking the cell phones from the classroom and now we're filming everything that is going out about, in the streets. What do you think about that? Should we just rely on the cell phones that are on every corner or are posted here or that business has one? Or is it okay for people now to just record you and post everything on Instagram or YouTube or whatever? Bahram.
First of all, Chilwell, thanks for that. That was the piece that I was missing. The whole privacy. Your rights, your right to privacy. That's the part that didn't sit well with me. It's like every moment of our lives is going to be on film, being recorded by people. There's no privacy. There's no secrecy or anything like that. And that might sound like a lot of people might push back on that by saying, well, what are you going to be getting up to that you don't want to be on film? But that's not the point. We all have freedom, or we're supposed to have freedom. And, my wife, very private person, doesn't like, when she came to the UK, she was wondering what letter boxes were. In the doors in the UK, we have square holes in our doors that the postman can mail the letters through the hole into your house. And she was like, what? Because obviously in America, or at least in California, I assume you guys have at the end of the street, there's those boxes where the postman will put the letters into a small cupboard and you guys go down to the end of the street and get your letters. So, I mean, from going from that mindset, it just shows you, even my wife is obviously in her 30s and she's, I can only imagine how elderly people, and I've heard it, all my life from my grandparents, that, technology these days and what you can do with phones and what you can do, and nothing's private anymore. And without sounding ranty again, and my usual stuff, but it's just I wonder actually, where you got your topic for tonight. If there is a story in the media in America now that maybe got your attention for tonight's show, because again, that is what they do. They highlight a story that's happened in a school, or the one that I talked about on one of the shows that I did, where a woman was raped by a police officer, and they're now talking about spending £40 million in the UK to install surveillance cameras and get drones in the streets, so women can download an app. Well, I'm sure men can too, but download an app on your phone, and if you feel that you're being stalked or followed by someone, you press the app, you press the button, and a drone will fly straight to you, and it will hover above you until you get home. And there's arguments for and against. I mean, no, obviously all for that situation. We don't want women feeling unsafe, but this is what they do. They highlight a story, and then they can push an agenda. And for that story, it might be something that everyone in the world can get behind. Yeah, that's such a horrible thing that happened, and yeah, something needs to be done. But it's what comes after that. They get us used to having phones, and then it's now we want to put cameras in schools, and then it's now we want drones in the street, and eventually it's no place is safe. Well, no place is unrecorded, or whatever word you want to use. I've actually forgot your question.
No, just about cell phones that are in the streets where people are now recording what is going on.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about. Sometimes you've actually got to fill in forms. If a photographer comes to your school, I seem to remember your mum and dad would get a letter saying, "Is it okay if we photograph your child?" So I don't know if there is any laws or acts or anything like that if you was to stick your phone in someone's face, a stranger's face, that they can actually sue you or do something, because they haven't given permission. I don't know where that conversation could go, or if that's all been wiped and we have no rights anymore. But yeah, again, I'm against it. I don't think, as much as preventative action for crimes, but I mean, how did we live? I think this whole fear of we need to have cameras to keep us safe. Back in the day when there wasn't this technology, how did it's almost like, well, we obviously survived it, and I know bad things do happen, but I think the going down this route is way more dangerous than people are giving credit for. I think it's not a good idea at all.
Okay. Welcome, Juju and Dude Sean. In terms of the mailboxes being on the streets, most of those are for newer homes that are being built. I grew up in a home where and in an area where the mail was delivered directly into our home. So depending upon the homes that are being built now, a lot of it is to make it easier on the mail carrier, where they don't have to go from house to house. They can just drive up in their truck and whatever. But when you look at society today, our privacy, and again, going back to yesterday's show, people are saying, our rights are rights. Everyone's rights are being taken away, whether it's from banning a book, whether it's from having someone say you can't work someplace unless you get a COVID shot, whether it's talking about critical race theory, whether it's talking about voting rights. Everyone's rights are being taken away. So that's something that has that is something that's been happening since the beginning of time. Our rights are being taken away. Now, Doom says First Amendment allows public recording. I have no problem with people recording. If it means that it's going to catch someone doing something that they're not supposed to do, record them. if you're, in the store and you're stealing something, and I pull out my phone and I record you, whatever, you shouldn't have been doing it. And unfortunately now everybody has a cell phone. Well, not everybody, but most people have cell phones. Everyone is ready to push play and record. So when you talk about recording people and our rights, this is something that we're never going to get away from. And recording people have helped a lot of other people. I look at places like India. I think they should probably have drones there. Women there seem to get raped, left and right. Yeah, it could be a story that the media chooses to focus on. But even if one person gets raped, we should know about it. So I don't have a problem with cameras to a point. I don't have a problem with people pulling out their cameras to record, because again, it has, it has proven things, and it has caught a lot of bad people. Welcome, crazy lady. Chill. You have the mic.
Well, okay. The problem is that with the idea that, well, you know what, if you wasn't doing wrong anyway, why you scared to be recorded? That's always a good point. That's always like I say, those things. People who are trying to take advantage of the truth or an event, they always going to use those points again for getting whatever the latter is, what their agenda is across. And typically, as a people, if you understand how these things work, whoever it is, whether it's the media, whether it's the government, whether it's corporations, that's exactly how, and that's been since the beginning of time as well. They use a horrible event, whether it's good or bad, Emmett Till, open casket, or COVID vaccinations must, mandates, so they, whether you want to call it bad or good, that's how things are used. So, and that's the problem when there's an agenda involved like that. And that's the problem with giving up those personal freedoms, because that's a horrible event. And so you have somebody on the back of this horrible event taking advantage of the situation for a greater manipulation. And that's never good. And as a people, we don't even care about that, because we're just because the tragedy is real. It's hurtful. It's a lot. And you can't avoid that. Like, you can't ignore it. So we got to do something, right? And we end up giving up our personal freedoms to some degree. And I think that's going to slowly happen. I mean, it's just inevitable, because especially something on tape is always going to be hurtful. But like, as far as in the streets, you see something in the streets and you record it, that's all right. I mean, can't avoid that. And if somebody, you pull out your phone and see a policeman whooping somebody ass for no reason, or, whoever it may be, it's never a good thing. So to keep public figures who get paid by the state, held them accountable, because they got, but certain things that can't picture, like certain ways I can police differently. We wish we didn't have that, but that comes from the police not policing themselves accordingly. You know what I mean? Or, just the corrupt nature of things. We need those things in place. So I do understand it, but it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't thing. And so I just say, where's the line? Where's the line going to be, though? That's always the big question. Where's the line going to be? It's always an overcorrection and undercorrection.
But is there ever going to be a line? I don't think that line will ever be drawn.
I mean, yeah, depending on what laws are passed and what laws are abolished, yeah, that's the line right there.
But laws that are passed are either going to benefit, one group of people and not benefit another, or benefit this other group of people and not benefit this other. When people draw lines, they draw lines for their own advantage.
Mhm.
So again, where are those I mean, when are those lines going to stop? I mean, because for us, as far as I'm concerned, lines are redrawn every 4 to 8 years. The line's here now, then the line's going to be here tomorrow. Then another 4 years, the line's going to be here. Then another 4 years, the line's going to be here. I mean, it's just crazy. So when is it going to stop? When will the line be drawn where it doesn't move anymore?
Well, the lines are always going to be there. The weather, I mean, it's always it's a pendulum, right? To where the line may hold, and in that line, one person may stay on the left, other person may stay on the right. So it's always going to be a fluctuation. That's life, that's life. The correction, overcorrection, undercorrection. Your body has to maintain 98.8 degrees. You may get sick. So it has to buffer to bring itself down. You may get cold, and the cold has a buffer again to bring itself up. So that's the fight of life. That's the beauty of life as well. So it's the vice and virtue of everything. The thing is that morally, as a society, is what do we hold? You know what I mean? What we give up. And it always takes a catastrophic event for us to get pissed off and change things. That's the horrible part about it. And, those lines are going to be there, though. You're right. It's unequivocally without a doubt. And right now, I think it's getting closer to lack of privacy. It's going to have to be one thing have to be put out there that to kind of correct it. So, but that's just like you said, that's been happening since the beginning of time, stuff like that. So,
but Joe, listen to what you just said. It's going to take a catastrophic event. During World War II, the catastrophic
several, I can say.
Okay, but hold on. During World War II, the catastrophic event was when America dropped an atomic bomb on Japan, killed over 200,000 people instantly. Now, no matter what you feel about Japan, yes, they, attacked Pearl Harbor, and yes, they killed our servicemen, whatever. But we're talking about dropping just tons of TNT on a group of people who, for the most part, probably didn't want to be in a war just as much as people across the ocean didn't want to be in a war. And I was, watching a show the other day, and somebody said the Japanese deserve what they got. And this show aired probably about 40 years ago. So you have to take it into context. So, they said, the Japanese or they deserve what they got. And then someone says, until the next person makes an atomic bomb, and then the next person makes one. And that's where we are now. So how many catastrophic events do we need? How many more, atomic bombs or 9/11s or, wherever that we've had pretty much every decade, something catastrophic happens. When does it stop? So again, I ask, where does that line, where is that line drawn? I mean, right now you have, Putin wanting, just out of greed, he wants, another part of Russia or whatever. You have President Xi who wants Taiwan. It's all out of greed. So when do the lines stop?
Well, we could say it's all out of greed. I mean, it's easy for Americans to say that, but Russia has been through what they've been through, and if we all acknowledge that we got our personal agendas, and that necessarily a bad thing. But if I'm self-preservation, I got to take something from somebody else. That's kind of typically how things go, whether we like it or not. That's how things go. And he may have a whole different agenda, and purpose, and this may be for his people, it may not. But either way, that's those catastrophic events I'm talking about, or it's for us people. I mean, as a whole, to kind of engulf and stick together with, to avoid those things. But that's typically not the case. It takes a 9/11. It takes a COVID. It takes it just that's how it works just throughout history. It takes a brutalizing moment, a beating. We're learning how corrosive, how we're our own worst enemy, humans in general. And you get all those movies that say like, you know what, I had to go ahead and just eliminate the whole human race because y'all don't even care about yourself. It's just a matter of time. And you get those movies that are kind of like almost prophetic. And it's scary though. Some of those technology movies, they're almost prophetic. You know what I mean? Like if we were to go 100 years from now, look back and like, man, that movie came to fruition. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's just the case, and it's almost inevitable, and we see it in front of our face, and we still won't avoid it. And until something happens to where people as a whole feel like, all right, we can come together and do that. But that means to be caring beyond your own household has to become a fad almost. These things to correct this has to become a fad. Being a non-conformist, a non-racist, all these things have to become looked at, shunned at publicly, and become a fad. So we can all come together, and overthrowing the government has to become a fad. Like just certain things that change, because if we don't, it's just going to be same status quo. But I mean, not to say that it has to be like that crazy, but it has to be something. It has to be a radical change for people to come together. It seems so, and that's sad.
Okay,
It's sad.
so and Bahram, I haven't forgotten about you, but Chill keeps bringing up comments. So while we're trying to have these radical changes, can't we just film it to push the change even further?
Absolutely, I'll tell that. Yeah, we can, because although they're catastrophic, that doesn't necessarily mean that things will change overnight. The civil rights movement made change, but it took. Some people don't even see it. It took years and years and years.
Right.
So it's a generational thing. Sometimes it could be a one night thing, but of course those series of events can invoke change. You know what I'm saying? So wherever it goes, and then of course you can record it. But the thing is always something being recorded that can be pro or con a subject matter or progression. What I feel is progression is, for every police brutality person, it could be for every city in the end there's a fox, so to speak. Is what I'm saying.
Right,
so
right.
Who knows? So yeah, it's just unfortunately that it takes those type of events or series of those type of events, and you might not see it in your lifetime. And some people like they're like, the hell with that. I'm not doing that. Nothing's never going to change. But that's a lie, because if that's the case, I will still probably be getting shipped over here on the boat. So not to say
you're right. No, you're right.
But,
we would still be out there picking cotton. No, that is what you wanted to say. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
I mean, so it's to some degree is or someone say, it's just different, which is just degree is a different type of psychological warfare now with technology, Instagram. So some things have come out the media, can be used for good and bad. So it's not all bad. It's just us as a people. We have to learn how to take more control over, because most people I feel are decent, and we just got to learn how to take control of ourselves and help ourselves, because we put it in an entity that's really now being taken advantage for the good of other people, elitist media, companies, corporations, and that's the biggest problem. Until we all figure that out and come on the same page, it's probably going to keep happening.
Okay, Bahram, you have a lot there.
I know. So in regards to like the war and the battles, well, first and foremost, like, see, when you said catastrophic events and couldn't we just film it, what kind of example, what do you mean by that? I didn't understand that part.
I mean, well, Jill was talking about it will take a catastrophic event for things to change. And I'm just saying, so, whatever is out there, if you see something that is going wrong or something that you don't like, just film it. If you're in the classroom or you're out in the street, whatever, just film it,
Mhm. Oh, okay. Because when you were talking about like war, like Pearl Harbor and the bomb being dropped
I mean,
on
Bahram,
Japan.
this show, it goes all over the place.
Yeah, no, I was just a little confused, but I mean, in regards to that side of stuff, the war and these people that like Putin, you were saying is just out of greed and things. Uh, I don't know if I want to go down this route, but in my view, history is written by the victors. So you're maybe on about recording or documenting what's going on so that we learn from it in years to come. I mean that in theory is a good idea, but history is written by the victors, and without going into it too much, uh, in my journey into looking into all these things, I've realised that the good people of the world that most people see as good people are actually the bad ones, and the bad ones are actually the good ones, and events that have took place they've all been erased or lied about or completely the opposite to what we're told. So I don't know if that's a good idea either. Like, we can try, but ultimately the government, and when I'm listening to you guys talk there, I'm just like, you're preaching to the choir, because these psychopathic people that run our world, we're the ones that take the hit for it. We're the ones that die in war. We're the ones that fight for them. We're the ones that get bombs dropped on our heads, and we do nothing to cause it, all because of these egotistical maniacs. It's never going to end. So, like, everyone knows my beliefs and my utopia of anarchy and freedom, and everyone gets land, everyone has rights, and the non-aggression principle, and 100% your wages, no one's a slave. There's no bad about that. There's no one can affect your life. You have total freedom over your life, and yes, we'll need some laws and things to keep the bad people in check, and obviously societal things, but very limited government. Because even further back in the conversation, when you were saying, I think it was Chilwell was saying about our freedoms just keep getting taken and taken. Ask yourself, who takes them? It's not me. It's not you. I can't affect your life. I can't take away any of your freedoms. I can make, I can hurt your feelings. I can, cause you to have a bad day if you let me, but I can't take away your freedoms. So ultimately, every time I feel like we have conversations like this or on other shows, we're all beating around the bush, and it's government. And even coming back full circle, we're on about surveillance here. I'm even thinking to myself, and I know this is going to happen, but without sounding too doom and gloom, these stories, whether it be a school that's, there's an event happened and they're trying to promote surveillance, or the story that I brought up where a woman was raped and they now want surveillance in the streets, ultimately, where that's leading, and it's protection for them. Because in a world like 1984, George Orwell, there is no crime, because everyone is under control. It's a communistic technocracy where you're complete under control, and the cameras are everywhere watching your every move. For anyone that wants to look up one of the most scariest speeches that I have ever heard, that came from our current Prime Minister Boris Johnson, 2 years ago. He was at the UN, and he spoke about that no secret will be safe, and even your mattress, it was either mattress or pillow, that it will record everyone's secrets. He actually said these words, and you can type in, when the show ends, go onto YouTube or Google and type in Boris Johnson UN speech on Brexit and AI, and he talks openly about the plans for the future. And it's I think it's too late, but I mean, if we all want to, that's why I push out this stuff, because I want people to be awake to it, and coming on the show and maybe thinking that having surveillance in schools is a good thing. You've got to realize what that could lead to, in my opinion, and not that we're all oblivious to it until we look into it. So I would just say, watch what you're hopeful for, or be careful what you wish for.
No, and Barbara, you make up. I mean, you make a lot of good points. And again, like I said, I had to read 1984 in sixth grade, and again in when I was a sophomore. But you bring up some very good points, and I'm going to take this conversation just a little. I'm going to take it sideways just a little bit, because you're bringing up rights. And here in the U.S., the state of Texas, passed this law regarding abortion. And I know some people are for it, some people are against it. But even though I do not believe in abortion, I don't like the law that was passed. Not because I think that women should be able to get them, but you pass this law, there's going to be another law that is going to be passed. And pretty soon, these laws that you're, saying that they're okay, they're going to affect you. And we're already seeing this. So, when you talk about, our lives and surveillance and everything, I mean, all of these laws that are being passed, whether you agree with them or not, pretty soon, and like they say, one day they're going to come after you. And that's exactly what is happening. So I don't know, whether you have cell phones in the classroom, whether there are people who are, out there recording in the streets, sooner or later you're either going to be happy that someone has that cell phone out because it's going to help you, or something could happen, they pass a law where it harms you. So Chill, you have the mic.
Okay, so you mentioned Byron mentioned a lot. Well, first of all, you mentioned something that's what kind of what I was going down the rabbit hole I was going down with giving away your personal privacy. You pass one act, then you pass another act, and that's how things work. Like you get one thing passed so it can open the avenue to others. So that's exactly how people approach the law and how to get laws turned over, abolish certain things, or put things in effect. You get one law that gets one good in one area, then you think, well, we got this law, so that's set precedence. That's called setting precedence. And so once that happens, it's kind of like a domino effect, depending on who has their own agenda, and that's the fight, right? And my thing is that sometimes we align ourselves with those who don't have art. They act like they do, but I feel like we should be smarter than this. These people aren't nothing. They're not left. They didn't grow up nothing like us. They don't have a reality of our reality. They live in a total different world, and they know the game. They know how to speak to a kindergarten level. They know how to identify to some degree with us, but they don't have our best interests at heart. And so to not see that, I mean, once we start seeing those type of things, we got enough entities around that are showing this. And it's going to be a fight. The problem is that with the change is that it's got to be catastrophic for people to change things, right? So that means that I may know I'm like a Martin Luther King. I may know I'm about to die. You got to have those type of, and there's a very small group of people who can evoke change. Make no mistake, that sometimes do, but it's like I said, it's a series of events, and people got to be willing to die for it, and or have some type of sacrifice, I should say, for it, which a lot of people can't handle, and that's the biggest deterrent, fear. And so as long as we have those deterrents, and it's always going to be hard to just to overcome any of that, because the right thing, we all know the right thing. We can see it before our face, but what are we willing to sacrifice for the greater good? Because I got a family right here to feed, to take care of, to live for, things of that nature. So it's a perfect storm for people that are up there trying to take advantage of us. on, and it just is. And until we start to say, you know what, this is enough. This is for my child. This is for my children, for my children's children. You know what I'm saying? Until that comes along, and it has to be, sometimes it may have to be too much, too many personal freedoms taken, till we come together as a group of people and say, the hell with this, you know. And it may take 100 years, it may take 150 years, but the fight has to, you know, we're gonna have some steps forward, steps back, but it's got to be implemented. Something has to be implemented. A group of people, a society has to be implemented for the good, which they have, I believe. I'm maybe not the biggest conspiracy theorist, but I think that's, you know, that's just a thing we have to do. You know, and without it, it's gonna go.
You know, and well, first, hold on. Shy Lady, I see you want to come on, but I don't see you on my panel. I know you're probably showing on other people's panels, but I don't see you on mine. So can you go out and come back in? I am not seeing you. So you are going to have to sign out and come back in, and I'll send you an invite. So, okay. Chill, I agree with you that it does, you know, it is going to require sacrifice. And as you know, we have a history of sacrifice, you know, and right now I'm pushing something the first time that one of my tweets is actually getting some traction. You know, I am all gung ho into this voting right thing. I mean, this is just one thing that's just is just pissing me off just to no end. And I am pushing, you know, some people may agree, some people may not, but I've been making a lot of phone calls, whatever, and I am pushing a nationwide 50 state economic black boycott. You know, black people spend billions in this country every year, and it affects our money affects other places around the world. And you don't want us to vote. You want to, you know, try to stop us from voting because this country is getting darker. Okay, we'll just stop shopping. You know, they did it in 1955 with the Montgomery bus boycott. They did it in 1963. They brought Woolworth to its knees. We can do it again. And a lot of people may not want to hear it, but it goes to what you're saying in terms of, is this a catastrophic event? If truckers in Canada can block a border and people are rallying behind them because they don't want to get vaccinated, then I'm sorry. You know, we need to do something where we can vote. So if that's a catastrophic event, then I'm sorry. Then that is what I think that we should do, because we're taking, you know, steps backward. Again, some people may agree, some people may not. Go ahead, Chill.
I want to really speak to this because that's what you're saying is it's an idea, but it's not a plan, right? It's a great idea. It's the most ultimate idea, but it's not a plan. And so that's the problem what I think with black folks in general. We always got great ideas we want to pull out there. We put out.
Hold on. But I'm
no, I'm just speaking. Not
towards
the plan. No. This is not. I don't need to, it's not personal. I'm just thinking about that's been put out there before, but beforehand, I'm just thinking about, not that you don't have a plan. I'm just thinking about the topic in general. A lot of times we had those ideas. We don't have a real plan so when they boycotted, they had certain plans where they tried to circumvent, you know, certain ways we can get here, get carpool, things of that nature. And those are the most important things we need to be able to disseminate, have a legitimate plan to where people that want to contribute that feel like make it worth it, right? Or well, make it worth it. When we had this, like this is an option. It may not be the best option, at least it's still an option to be able to buy food, to buy this, but buy that, and that's the problem. So giving freedom to a group, not even just black folks, to where they don't, I don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? It don't affect me. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the biggest tricks appear a false sense of freedom. Hey, let's get this group of whole like now there's classism between black folks. You know what I'm saying? Now it's just got the people who got something, people who don't got something. Now they don't care to go back to the hood. They don't care about or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So that's the number one trick you got to get over. Then number two, you got to be able to have a plan to be able to go through. If we're not gonna buy, where we're gonna buy from? Because we got to eat everywhere you go. Black folks ain't got nothing. So we ain't got nothing to be able to do that with. So you gotta have before you say, "Hey, let's make $1 million." We gotta have a business.
I mean, chill. So, no, I understand totally. I understand totally what you are saying. I totally.
But hold on one second. But the biggest thing is this is not even a black issue. It's an everything issue. When somebody isn't, yeah. So that's what I be want to say that because it's the integrity of our voting system. It's the integrity of our voting system. You want to be fair. Everybody wants to be fair. So that I don't care what group of people, whatever. If it's something unfair, but that's the way laws are built. This is the way this country has been built. And to go that, it has to be a history of learning through how it's been manipulated from the 1864. It's so many civil rights. It's the Brown versus Board. Like it's so many. Just how we were free in 1864 for 12 years, and then they figured out a way to put us back under the Jim Crow. So therefore, it's that whole unless we teaching that to show you how people don't even believe it. White folks, black folks alike, they don't even get it. They don't see the psychological warfare that's has been done, like with the politicians on how they speak to us as a people. This is actually a science that people don't even understand because they don't even know. So first thing is to educate, then have a legitimate plan. Not to say you don't, because you have a great plan. I'm just saying in general, a lot of times people say that, but we got to be able to even more so be ready for that, or at least have a vision for that if it happens, and which you could have a great one.
Okay, and believe me, this is something that I have been working on for over a year, and I am going to get it done. I don't care if it's just for 1 week. 1 week alone would bring this country to its knees. And like Shy Lady said, black spending power at 1.6 trillion. It would hurt. It would hurt if we just stopped spending money. So Shy Lady, thank you for waiting so patiently. You have the mic. And I know this conversation has gone from cell phones to
I know I was going to say I've missed most of the conversation, but I do think that the whole thing about the boycott, I know you've talked about it before, just the fact that we are even talking about voting laws in 2021 is still mind-boggling to me that we're talking about this in 2021 and the government actually trying to impose laws to block voters from registering. And we were fighting for this 60 years ago. So to see that it's like kind of reinventing itself, it just amazes me. So if a boycott will bring the attention to the government and to make awareness of how important it is for people to have that access and that right to vote, then I'm for it.
Okay. All right. Do you have any comments in terms of cell phones in the classroom or recording out in the street, but mainly about the cell phones in the classroom?
I think that again, I think that I'm for it actually, but it has to be where it's not a distraction. But I think that it's good to have that because there's a lot of things that would never get recorded if it wasn't for cell phones. It's kind of one of those things to me now. It's like, it's out here now. You can't take it back. That's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. Bahram.
Can you guys let me? I'm really not up to date with what's going on in regards to what you're talking about with voter rights. Can you tell me what's happening there?
Basically, there have been a lot of laws that have been passed around several states. I think it's about 38 states now that have passed laws where they're making it harder and more difficult for people of color, mainly, Black and brown people, to vote, to have access to the polls. They're closing certain polling places, making people go further to vote. They're passing laws like, if you give, like in Georgia, if you give water to someone standing in line, you can, the police can come and they can, put you in jail. I mean, it's just crazy things. So that's why I say, when you have, these abortion laws and things like that, you may not be for it, but then again, you get laws like this, and the next is going to be, if you have, red hair, you have to stand in this line. If you have brown hair, you have to stand in this line. But voting, conservatives, in a lot of these conservative states are redrawing maps where it's giving them the advantage, and it's making it harder for people of color to vote.
Okay. Okay. Well,
can I say this as well?
Sure,
Can I say this
go
as well?
ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
The one thing is about it is it leads to a bigger issue that's always been, that's still there in our society right now with laws to this day, is the laws that they're not saying, hey, black folks can't do this, white folks can't do this, poor folks can't do this. They just make it hard to where that group of people will be affected negatively. Like, say, for instance, Joe Biden, he's one of the originators of the one crack rock 1 year jail rule. Now, cocaine is an issue in this whole society in the 80s, but specifically, he made a law, passed a law. If you got one rock, which is less than, I don't know, as far as cocaine, it has to compare to ounce of cocaine, and one rock is 3 rocks. You get people who get ounce of cocaine get a couple months of probation in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Which coincidentally are a whole lot of white people. And then you got black people who sell rocks and who predominantly live in the ghettos. You get that, they get 3 years. And anyway, you got this guy in the suburbs, and you're not saying black or white, but you're keeping it. You're making laws kind of like that are face that is face aren't racist, but they are. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm talking. So if I get 3 strikes, you're out from especially rocks, or 3, 4, 5 rocks in this, which is really not even that much cocaine at all. It's more baking soda than anything. So I'm getting more jail time than this person that's selling actual cocaine out in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? And so, not to say that people in the suburbs can't sell crack, but when it starts to go out to the suburbs, that's when you get the DARE programs. That's when you get the kind of like when crack started hitting the suburbs, it changes. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with gun laws in Cali. Like, it was cool to carry guns until you see the Black Panthers on the steps of a state capitol, with a bunch of guns. And then they start to change the laws. And they don't say black people can't carry guns. They just make, kind of facial laws to where it affects one group of people. And that's kind of what the voters' rights.
Bahram?
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that more. It sounds interesting, to say the least. And the way my mind works is there's obviously an agenda there that is plain and simple. I maybe you guys won't won't agree with me here, but to me that doesn't sound like as though it does on the outside. That it sounds as though they're trying to favor the conservatives there, or the Republicans, by taking away polling stations in Democratic states. But to me, there's something else there, and I'll promise to look into that. But on your idea of how to get back at them is by boycotting spending in shops. What I'll say to that is, do you like? This is what I'm saying. the critical thought in me goes, so the government take away your rights, and your way to combat that is to screw over businesses, like business owners. You're not affecting the government there unless you stop spending in like Amazon and like big corporations, Google, Apple, all these big corporations. Even that, I mean, yeah, I don't know if that would make much of a difference, but so you're not going to go out and spend money in small businesses, which is what they want. So
Well,
I don't.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm looking to target the Walmarts. I'm looking to target the big businesses who are behind and are funding a lot of these states and these laws. So I'm not, I'm not saying, don't go shop here or, don't go shop there. But at the same time, I'm also telling, people who look like me that there is another group of people who I say do not shop at their stores because they're notoriously known for treating us so bad every time we go into their stores. So Barrem, I understand what you're saying, but again, I come back to, until you've experienced what another person has firsthand and understand sometimes the humiliation and how you can just feel like total crap. Sometimes it's just best to just step back, because what and I'm sorry, and guys, I'm sorry if I'm turning this show into like this race thing or whatever, but you never know what other people are going through, and some people will never ever experience it ever. You can take a poor black person, you can take a poor white person. That poor white person will still be entitled over that poor black person. That's a fact. And that is a reality that we know. And it hurts. And it's sad. But this is our reality. So what do we have to do in order to make people wake up? Because when you start hitting people in their wallets, then they start to pay attention to you. Because they don't want anyone to mess with their money. But I understand what you're saying in terms of, hurting small business owners, whatever. I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that they're shutting down polling stations in democratic states, or majority.
I'm saying that in conservative run states, they are they are closing polling places in places where people of color live. They are mainly affecting those places where black and brown people live in red states, because red states have been the ones who have been able to pass these laws. Yeah. Blue states are not passing these laws. These are red state places.
Well, I mean, in the year 2022, we should be able to vote online anyway. So, I mean, maybe that's the agenda. I think that's something that might end up happening, because I'm with you. Like, if that's what they're doing, and I don't, I'm not saying that that's not the case, then I'm fully on board with that movement. I've said, that's a good thing to do, as long as you're directly affecting the people that are doing it and not innocent good people. Then I'm all for it.
Okay.
Yeah, online wouldn't happen, because that's one of the things they're trying to get rid of, absentee and online voting, because it's typically, they're trying to make sure that they get a hold of things. Probably Democrats outrank overall, just in general, Republicans, and so they want to make sure that the electoral colleges they can hold fit. They can't be manipulated. Cause online can be absentee voting can be manipulated. And typically, if it is, it sways towards the Democratic Party, and so that's what they're trying to do. And that's what happens. They each election, and then Republicans play way harsher than Democrats in general. I'm not privy to either one. I'm not I'm not for either one of them, but typically they do what needs to be get done to get their agenda across a little bit better. And the reason why you would target corporations is because corporations are what run the government in this society. Byram, make no mistake, the government is not run by the government. You target those corporations and those businesses because they will affect change. Once these start hitting their pockets, they go back to that person, and we have something as far as lobbying. They will lobby, hey, well, we need to change this law. We need to get this law in place. So that would, by its theory, work, boycotting. And anybody who is for it, sometimes silence is you might hurt a business, but your silence is not fair either. You're not necessarily helping or hurting the cause, but you're not saying nothing when you see it's like walking past somebody getting mugged. So you're a part of the problem. So therefore, if you're a small business, if you become a part of that, that's what it is. But that's the whole premise of boycott. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's completely uncomfortable, so people can get up and say, you know what? Maybe I'm paying attention to this now. And so let me get off my ass, even if it's just on my own agenda. So because they're not shopping in my local store, I need to go to my congressman and say something. Listen, they're not shopping in my little small store. And just because y'all over there running amok, don't make it big on me. So you get people who are, whether small business or corporate, that's the way you get your agenda swayed as far as fighting fair. Try to get just fairness. We're not, a lot of times people not asking for fairness. They're just trying to, they're trying to ask for more than what they deserve, is what I'm saying. They're just asking for fairness. And that's how you get it, making people uncomfortable to get off their ass and go vote.
And Chill, you make a very good point, but and it does affect change. Boycotting, if it's done, and like you said, if it's organized correctly, it does affect change. And even though I'm going back 60 years, I still have to go back to the Montgomery, boycott, in 1955. It's like, you had these people who were, told after they got on the bus, they put in their dime. They had to then get off the bus. Then they had to go back through the back of the bus in order to get on. And sometimes the bus driver, he would drive off, and and they would laugh. So when they said, okay, we're not, they organized and they said, we're not going to take the bus. They walked, they had carpools, whatever. And at first, they didn't care. They saw a lot of colored people walking, whatever. As long as they got to work on time, they did not care. But then it started hitting them in their pockets. Then they started to beat up these colored people. Then they started to threaten to lynch these colored people. So when that started happening, you knew that change was coming. And they did it for a year. Fast forward 1963. You go to Woolworth. It was okay for us to shop in your store, but we can't get a sandwich at the lunch counter. We were burned. We were spit on. We were, food was tossed on us. Women were beaten, and again we're dragged out and what have you, threatened with being lynched. So we stopped shopping there. What happened? Woolworth almost went bankrupt. Why? Because they need our money. So when you start messing with people's money, and like Chill said, if it affects somebody else, and that means that person's going to get on the phone to their senator and say, hey, these people are, you all are really screwing with us. It affects change. I don't mean to screw around with someone else, but, like Shy Lady says, this is 2022, and we're still talking about voting rights. 2022, and we're still talking about a lot of the crap that we're talking about. But I digress because tomorrow's show is going to be even deeper. So, Shy Lady, I'm going to start wrapping this up. So, do you want to add anything?
No, Chill has said a mouthful,
yes,
and as well as he's solid. So, no, I don't have anything else to say.
But Bahram, I'm going to go around the room and give last words.
No, I'm good. I've got homework to do. Love the show again, and look forward to tomorrow night.
So, and again, guys, I know we started out with cell phones and we ended up talking about boycotts and everything. And, I'm sorry. And I don't mean to make anyone feel, that they don't want to say anything. But again, if you disagree, again, this is a show where you can disagree as long as we are respectful. So, and again, this is a show that can start with one subject and go with and end up with another one. Chill, you have the mic. Any last words?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm riding in the car, so if we get a couple beeps here in a second, I'm sorry. These are sometimes uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. And it's not personal. I want anybody, I don't care who you are. Sometimes black folks get uncomfortable when those topics come up because they're like, don't go there. But in general, these are conversations that need to be had. Conversations that everyone needs to be educated on. Because my friend, I don't want you to be ignorant when you go out there and have your decisions made or your thoughts. I want you to know. And if you have something legitimate to tell me that I'm wrong, I need to know. Don't let me be a dumbass out here, please. Just because of opposing opinion or you feel like it's going to be argument, I don't care nothing about that. We can have a spirited debate. I just want to be right in my mind and heart and spirit to know what when I'm talking about, when I'm giving out this information, it's the proper information. At least I have a valid opinion, because it's all an opinion. It's not necessarily, it's based in facts, but it's an opinion. And so if you have an opposing opinion, always speak up. I don't care if you're white, black, or alien. I don't care. Speak up, because I'm and to some degree on this stuff, I am well versed, and then maybe I can help you out. And then in some cases, you can help me out. That's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm here to give. And so I try to be fair in that, right? And so I would also say it's a good. I listen to Rush Limbaugh, and then I'll turn around and listen to Tavis Smiley. So you just got to be well rounded on these issues, so you know what you're talking about. And also, if you want to know about a lot of stuff we're talking about today, it's a real quick. Well, actually not quick, but it's a series on Amazon. Everybody normally has Amazon. Black Masterclass, and it goes into a lot of these things. And it's kind of surface level, but it like Bahram, if you go there, man, that will give you a lot of stuff and explain a lot to you. When you'll get educated, it's and then regardless of you white or black, it's still kind of like once you actually get into it, you can't stop watching it, And it's super educational. You can go back and do your homework and see if stuff was like that or not. But as far as American history, that's a good place to start for black folks, and in the history of black folks, because it's American history as well. I would promote everybody to go and seek that out. Just look at it, because I don't care what it is. I'm trying to learn it, But other than that, y'all be good, chill.
Thank you, Chill. Thank you so much. Yes, Bahram, you can come back in, but let me go to Shy Lady really quick. Shy Lady, sure you don't want to add anything?
No. I mean, Chill was such a wealth of information. I'm going to check out that masterclass he was talking about as well. I don't think I've watched it.
It is very good. It is very good.
Yeah, I want to check it out. You learn something. I'm always learning something whenever I listen to this show. So no, I'm just grateful for the platform that you have and hearing other people's thoughts and whatever value they bring. I definitely receive it.
Okay. All right. Bahram, you want to say something else?
Yeah, it's just to clarify again for anyone who's listening, in Shy Lady and yourself and Will, if he's still listening, when I question the things that you guys talk about, trust me, I'm on your guys' side. I don't want you guys, I'm under no illusion. I've seen movies, I've watched these, documentaries, and I know what you guys have gone through, your ancestors and all that, and slavery, and I think it's abhorrent. I think it's disgusting. But in my research and the stuff that I've learned, I know for 100% that the government, the people that have run the world behind the scenes as well, the way that they talk about race, like black and white, is that they, and you might not like this, you might disagree, whatever, we can have this conversation down the line, but you guys were handed the bad, the wrong end of the spoon, whatever the saying is, and gradually, they've divided us, black versus white, and that's wrong. But what you're seeing now is, and I know I've mentioned this before, and maybe some people didn't like it, but in the last, you say maybe 5-10 years, what you're seeing now is the complete switch, and it's not quite there yet, but now it's gonna, this is why they're erasing history. They're erasing any, in 100 years' time, I'm under no illusion that you'll think that, the blacks were never slaves, because that'll all be erased. And you think by taking down a statue, it's for your good, but it's not. They're erasing black history, and it's actually going to turn where the blacks will have their day. And quite, I don't think two wrongs make a right. I don't think it should be that way either. And some people might be listening and saying, gee, that he's a white guy and he doesn't like seeing this. Well, it's about time something happened to the whites. I don't like that attitude either. I don't think it's right what happened to you guys. But even down to like what I mentioned, where Costa Coffee or Starbucks, it was little white children playing snowball fights at Christmas there. Now they've changed it to little black kids, and when I say these things, it's like almost as if I'm a racist, but it's not. It's because I know that the government, the people who run it, that's what they're doing. They're pushing history. They're changing history. They're burning books, literally. Whether it be online. And I don't like that. And I'm trying to wake up. The blacks have been used as pawns to push these progressive things and take away freedoms. And a lot of people might think, well, it's about time we had our day. But just be careful. And that's all I'm saying. I want everyone to have the best life that they can and not be hindered by, again, government. Not me, not you, government. They're the only ones that can affect our lives and take away freedom. So, try and not, division and hate whites and hate blacks and that's certainly not where I'm coming from.
Okay. And
Can I say this real quick,
go ahead.
Just real quick. Divisive is that kind of subject can be definitely divisive by realm, and I understand exactly where you're trying to go and what you're trying to say. I completely understand that, but I want you to know that black folks in general, we know how you're right. We know how it feels to be done that way. So typically, we don't come in that kind of vein. That can also be kind of propaganda. Oh, the blacks are coming to get us. So so that's all including into the whole agenda you're speaking about. So that's why we have to be aware and make it an everybody problem. When somebody's not being treated fairly, whether it's a little girl, white, black, or what I'm saying, that's the notion I was trying to bring to you. Is saying that everybody, one group might be infected, but it still should. Everybody should care about that one group. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't leave that one group behind. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Mexicans, if it's white, if it's women, if it's gay. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you just want to make sure that we're included too. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what black folks are streaming from the top. Because you can come in my barbecue easy. You don't get no hate. You know what I'm saying? We don't got no... Black folks in general are loving people. We might be pissed because we feel like we're not being heard, but we're loving people. And so we get that. And so these conversations can't be divisive, but that's up to us to make sure that you understand our intent, our vein, our, you know what I'm saying, like where we coming from, and make sure it's let you know that, hey, this is an everybody problem. And so that's what I feel like. You got to know when we're speaking, this is an everybody problem, and that'll help anybody in reference to.
Well, and one thing that I do want to say, and I've said this before, and again, I'm getting into tomorrow's show, I'm sure, that it's not just pushing progressive ideas. Conservatives and the right, they also have an agenda. So it's not just, again, it's not just the left, the left, the left, the left. And it's not just the right, the right, the right, the right. It is both of them. And as far as taking down statues, I am one Black person who I know a lot of people have disagreed with me. I don't think statues should have come down. Those statues should have stayed up, because you are taking down a part of our history. When you remove it, You remove the ability to have the conversation. Those statues should have stayed up. They should have remained there. So while you're talking about this person, yeah, he went and fought a war, also talk about the other stuff that he did. So we are erasing part of us. That's my opinion. And Bahram, believe me, I for one do not take offense of anything you have said. I don't think anyone on this panel has. But like Chill says, it is a conversation that we need to have. It's a conversation that we need to keep having. And sometimes Black folks get called out. Other times white people do. But you have to have the conversation if we're going to get anywhere. We have to be able to talk. And we may not like what the other person's saying, but we should be able to talk without screaming at each other and beating each other up and whatever. But the problem is not just the left. It is the right. It's both of them and anybody else in between who is causing any problems. And for, going back to what Chill says is that we also, don't leave us out. It should not have been Black Lives Matter. It should have been Black Lives Matter too. And I think if we had just added that one word, things would have been a little different because we do matter too. So once again, does anybody have anything they want to say? Bahram.
No, I totally agree with everything you said there. I mean, we keep saying like we need to have these conversations, and that's true. But like, just to clarify, like I am fully on your side. So it's not people like me. The conversation I would I mean, I wouldn't love it because it would be a horrible experience. But if someone came into the Tonight Show or a show in the future and was spouting off hatred towards Black people or any race, they're the type of people we need to talk to and say, look, we're not the problem. Just because you've got a different color of skin or you're a different sex or a different sexual orientation, we're not the problem. We need to be less divided and stop fighting with each other and see who the real problem is, which again is the government. They're the only ones that can control our lives and take away freedoms, as I've kept saying. So no, it's I mean, I do like having these conversations. Don't get me wrong, they are touchy, and if we do have a show that's dedicated to this, I'll come more prepared with examples for you guys to kind of. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm patronizing, but I get literally sent, I've got a few people that I, get sent articles every day that's in the news every day, maybe not on TV, on CNNs and Fox, but and if you go to like the WashingtonPost.com, there's hundreds of articles that get posted on there every day, or the Daily Record, the Daily Mail in the UK, whatever. And the stories that are on there that are so obvious to what agenda they're pushing. And it's literally like history erasing, and that again back to George Orwell. He says it as well. It's like they're erasing history so that we all forget about what government did and what all these bad and evil things that happen and start afresh. So I'm not against you guys. I maybe sometimes come out with a better way of attacking it or a better way of looking at it. But ultimately, I know what you guys or your ancestors have gone through, and to a certain degree, what you still go through with what's been brought up tonight with the voting. That if that is the case, then that is it's not right. So I'm fully on board with that, and thanks for having me again and giving me the time, and I look forward to tomorrow's show. Thanks.
Okay. Shy Lady, once again, do you have anything you want to say?
This is just real quick. I know how you feel about the statues, but I really think that a statue of Christopher Columbus would definitely give some people the wrong impression. He was a horrible person. And I mean, he almost wiped out a whole race of people. And it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I would want to see his statue, because some kids who are still learning that he was, this great individual in history might think otherwise when they see him. They might think all those wonderful things they were taught in school, that he was a great person.
No, I mean, I
So
know,
that's just my opinion.
I understand that. And since it is Black History Month, I am going to redo some of my older shows when I was on Zoom. And Confederate Statues is actually a show that I'm going to do next week. But no, I get where you're coming from. So yeah. Chill. One last time. Anything you want to say before I wrap it up for real?
Yeah, I want to say that to all y'all, appreciate y'all for tuning in and listening to my jibber jabber. I appreciate everybody. And then also, Byram, bro, we already know your heart. I feel like so you don't ever got to explain. What's understood doesn't need to be explained, bro. You never come in here to explain yourself, ever. Varying opinions are welcome for me. And, sometimes you can, like I said, brother, you can educate me. I can educate you, but we come to one common cause. And I welcome that. Whoever has varying opinions, that's we don't need to be a big ass group think tank on here. So it's always good to get varying opinions. I'm okay with that, because sometimes you can say, hey, you come and say, well, I think black folks tripping. I don't think it ain't got nothing to do with race. You know what I'm saying? So it may be an issue of that. We all need checks and balances. I really feel like that's a good thing. But the fact is, the hard part is having that conversation. And that's what I like. You know what I'm saying? You say what you mean what you say, and let's hold each other accountable and make each other better in the process.
Okay. Well, with that, I do just want to add that I know I had to cancel 2 shows last week, and technically 3, because I was going to do a night show last Friday night. I am still going to do the night show I was going to do. I'm going to do that Friday night. It's actually going to be on Marvin Gaye and his song "What's Going On," because I think that is something that we all need to look at the lyrics and how things really haven't changed from when Marvin was saying about what is going on. So I'm expecting the conversation to be just a little bit more dicey, because the evening crowd is a little different from the day crowd. So it'll be 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Pacific time on Friday the 11th. I'm sorry, Friday the 18th. So with that, guys, thank you so much. And again, this show does not work without you. Thank you, Byram, Shy Lady, and Chill Will. Thank you so much. Juju and Frankie, thank you very much for your golden beans. I thank you so much. And with that, go where the wind takes you. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you, everyone. And see, Byram, even Shy Lady says, welcome your views. So yes. And Chill, I also agree with what you said. And I agree with what Byram said. I agree with what Shy Lady said. Bye, Shy Lady. Thanks for stopping in. And Frankie, again, thank you for participating and adding to the chat. I do appreciate you. And Shy Lady, if you can make it on Friday, I know you usually do basketball. Oh, she is gone. Jill, if you can make it on Friday, hope you can make it Friday night. And Frankie, I'm still working on that program. Someone sent me a program for you, so we can do some translation. So hopefully I can figure out how to do that and get that on Podbean. So you'll be able to join in. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. In